Hello there, friends and loved ones. Dana here. As you know, I'm a spirit channel, or at least I use the term spirit channel. Basically a communicator of spirit energy, that which flows in the between us space and also is housed within our own cellular matrix, that which can be tuned into and communicated with for greater discernment of life and what it has to offer us and our agency, what power we have, where it lies, and how to move forwards in a way that honors and supports us in our sacred magic and wisdom. And so I come here humbly as a servant of spirit energy, also recognizing that I'm also an Australian woman of a certain ancestry, and that I also am today on Bundjalung land of the Arawak Wild Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, recognizing that sovereignty was never ceded. It is my privilege to do this for you, and if you're interested in energy, how it flows, how it might communicate through you, what influences might be at work in your own system, your own energetic system, I feel like Spirit wants me to first just communicate that we're all in an electromagnetic field. And that electromagnetic field is not just created by your heart, it's also created by your brain, and also a number of different energy portals or access points or chakras, if that's the system that you work in. These energetic interfaces are ways that we communicate that which we are and interact with the external environment and bring energy into our internal environment and have this dialogue between the internal and external interface of the human experience. And I'm emphasizing the human experience because obviously we have plants and trees and animals and a variety of other things, water bodies. These things have spirit energy inside of them and also are a part of the Earth Mother. And so we are a part of an ecology way beyond ourselves. But I'm here to communicate with humans in the picture because humans have a higher consciousness than most of the other energetic expressions of source. What that means is that we actually have a great capacity to hold on to information that's nuanced, that's more complex, and we are able to play with this energy. And we use the word play to express an awareness that we have, that a good part of this experience is us experimenting with things that are unknown to us. And if we want to give you me and Spirit want to give you the analogy of this idea that when you go about your daily life, there are some things that you don't know about and that you're curious about. There's a part of you that just gets pulled towards certain things. And we're big fans of exercising that curiosity muscle, because that curiosity muscle is your source code expressing itself in the way that it is desiring change or it's desiring to know something. It actually pulls on your attention to gift you with sensory information in return. So I might have a question about my mother and my interaction with my mother, and the universe in its responsiveness externally to my internal desire or communication or need, there may be an interplay or a structured system that appears. So I might notice that I meet a woman of a particular age who starts to talk in a way where I feel like there's a relationship between me and my mum interplaying there. Usually it is. And usually the reason why that dialogue comes is because it's a part and parcel of our experience in life, that as we're developing from baby through our childhood, through into adolescence, and then further into adulthood, and then our autumn years, there's a certain amount of experience that teaches us some things are true over others. And this dialogue when we're younger is way more simple than it is when we're older. It becomes much more complex as we start to develop more complex systems. You know, at all times we are learning, at all times we are growing, and at all times we are experiencing. Because of our emotional nature and our sensitivities, and this is particularly prevalent because we're moving into a Scorpio cycle for next month. This month is a Libran cycle. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There's a certain amount of acknowledgement of your own experience of childhood that has shaped your reality. It's shaped the way that you see things. It's shaped the things that you identify as being good for you or bad for you, or otherwise somewhere in the space in between. It's also taught you the things that pull your attention, that need more attention, that are prioritized by your system. And so what that looks like is that you might find that you walk through your day and all you can think about is food, because somehow way back in your developmental experience, it was emphasized at the home environment maybe that food was a priority, that finding food was important. And indeed, this is particularly true for the generation that is post-World War II. For really great reasons, because in post-World War II, there was an experience where after all of the war was done, there was a certain amount of absence of some things, because all of the people who were involved in the war were taken off the farms and they were taken off the fields and they were taken off the manufacturing productivity and the building of houses and all these things, and in order to go to war, right? So they were redirected into a different time-space continuum, a different experience for them. And whoever it is that drove that specifically did that for whatever reason they did that. But what they did is they basically changed the paradigm of the collective field. So by deciding to go to war, the powers that be, whoever they may have been, when they decided to go to war, they actually made a decision to shape reality for the collective field in a way that then in the next generation impacted them, so that they lacked certain food sources and didn't maybe have appropriate housing. And indeed, the masculine paradigm had already shifted from the experience of being involved in a war. And so the legacy of that was left for the generational experiencing of the young generation, so the next generation. As they grew up, they were impacted by that. Further along the track, the next generation of souls that came through that had experience were given a different paradigm. So let's take a stab at the 80s. In the 80s, we have a shift collectively towards a fast food revolution. So relationship with food is different, relationship with where to source food is different, relationship with how much to spend and what is available for a certain amount has changed. And so we have a paradigm shift or a complete disconnect from some of the priorities that were given to the generation previously. And so the appreciation for food is different, and the awareness of food is different, and indeed the way the physical body is structured is different. And so moving that along to a generation that was maybe born in the 2000s, we have, again, completely different revolution here. We have people who are way more health aware. We have a lot more dialogue around nutrition. There's a lot more science behind medicine and the way the body is built and structured, and also medical the medical field is also very different. So psychology starts to come in as being really important. And this is where spirit kind of lands me in psychology. You know, we often in our videos talk about psychic, that there's actually a shift now to being more psychic. A lot more of us are more sensitive to energy. A lot more of us are more aware of emotional energy and how important it is. And that's partially because we have resolved some of the issues with food that were maybe prevalent in the generations earlier. And so fast forward to now for this particular energy forecast. Again, we mentioned before that it is a solar frequency, so the sun is in Libra. We also have a Libran lunar cycle. So the external reality is about rebalancing, because Libra is a number of energies, but often it's about finding equality. Often it's about seeing that there was a tip maybe in this direction, and now it's time to go in the opposite direction in order to make sure that balance is established. And so Spirit is saying specifically with the collective field at the moment, the emphasis here is on last month was very much about masculine energy and very much about grounded presence and very much about the home environment and figuring that out. The next lunar cycle is taking us a little bit more into more of the ideas space. So Libra being an air sign, things move quite quickly, more rapidly. There's a lot more conversation happening. So this would be, there's a lot more people talking about stuff and not necessarily walking their talk. It is also an Aries full moon. And so around the 10th of the 10th, I do remember that because the 10th is a portal number. So the 10th of October is when the full moon is in Aries. And during full moons, people who live a lot in the mind tend to really notice the ungrounded sensation of being even faster than usual, or being less certain than usual, or not noticing that they've left certain people behind in conversation because they've just gone too fast with conversation, not necessarily kind of realized that the people they're having a conversation with aren't actually staying with them and maybe aren't available to stay with them. And so in this month, there is a certain amount of ungrounded or instability that is going to be created again, which pushes us a little bit more back into the feminine realm of chaos and instability. Now, when we say feminine, chaos, instability, we're not saying that women are chaotic and unstable, because that's not true. We contain both masculine and feminine energies in our paradigm, and some women actually do tend to be more administrative, focused, grounded, present, otherwise known as our earth sign quite often. These types of energies don't really necessarily make commentary on the fact that women and men come in all shapes and sizes, right? When we talk about feminine, we're actually talking about relationships. So we're talking about the relationship between the grounded and the focused and the individualized aspects. So me focusing on me and being aware of what I'm going through and what it is that I'm about, versus what we're going to experience a lot more in this month, which is basically a pulling of our attention towards certain things that are more collective in nature, that gift us with an experience that basically says, this is outside of my control. And so for some people, particularly if you've grown up in an environment where you were, there was a lot of pressure on you to be a particular way, you will notice that when there's a bit of instability in the field, you will struggle a lot more, particularly across the full moon, in order to be able to see sense and reality in a way that actually lands for you. And this is where spirit is bringing me back to why it is that I do the work that I do. It's because we are primarily about self-development. We are primarily about helping you understand your system, your design, how it is that you're structured, and also dialoguing with the experience that you've already had to be able to free up some energy so that you can see the future in a way that allows you to feel more powerful. And when we use the term powerful, please don't mistake us as saying more controlling, because a person who is in more control is not necessarily more powerful. They are just in more control. Power as an energy is someone who is well resourced. And so someone may be very powerful when they have a lot of life experience, provided they are able to be aware of that life experience. Usually they are they find it really easy to resource themselves when certain situations come up, because they have more experience and they have more remembering to draw on. Or, another word for that is to say that they have more light available in their system that makes things way clearer for them, versus someone who's not dialoguing with themselves, is not aware of themselves, is not recognizing the way that they're designed, has not been in the dialogue of some of the past hurts and the past grief and the past trauma in order to understand the systems that have been created for them in order for them to voice themselves in the collective environment. These types of dances are really important because they give you back choice. They give you back a sense of, even though the external world is a little bit uncertain, and even though the external world is doing some things that are not predictable, and I don't have a role model for that particular experience, we are able to better trust that we have the resources to move forward successfully in some way, shape, or form. And that is the source of power, feeling a sense of certainty, feeling a sense of certainty that no matter what it is that shows up, I know I have support, and I know I have maybe money, I know I have a place to live, I know that there is clothes on my back and food in my mouth and people to talk to, and I know that it doesn't matter if I lose some of my own personal economy, because I've been there before, I've had some experience around that, and I have some tools already to know what to do in case that happens. And when I do that work, when I have that dialogue and I have that conversation, then I tend to ride the waves of what it is that comes and what it is that goes and what it is that life throws at me much better, with a more grounded sense of presence and self-awareness and trust that I can navigate this on my own without necessarily needing to siphon other people for energy or attention. And I land on attention because I get the sense now moving forwards that attention and where you put it is actually really important, particularly as we head towards Scorpio energy, because Scorpio energy is a very deep well of wisdom and it can come with a lot of sabotage. The Scorpio energy is one I have a lot of personal experience with because my dad's a Scorpio, and also I have a lot of friends for some reason, or actually for some reason, I know Spirit's laughing at me because often the archetypes we have in our family unit are the ones that are more closest to us energetically. So it's quite common for us to attract to us similar types of archetypes so that we can start to dialogue around those particular relationship paradigms in other spaces or from other angles or directions. And so heading into Scorpio, there is a certain amount of heart-based grief that will arise to the surface. There is a collective field at the moment that is starting to sense that they're really in lack. And part of that still is the post-COVID exploration, understanding that all of the optimism that you may have started the year with may not have landed. You may not have had the success that you were hoping for at the beginning of the year across this year. And Spirit is just asking you to just kind of pull the reins back a bit and please reflect or remember that we've all been through a pretty tough ride the last few years. All of us have. It's not just you, all of us have. And we all have different expectations on ourselves to be magnificent or successful at what we do. Your dance is for you, right? Your understanding and the dialogue within is for you to understand. Remember, because if you understand it, then that gives you power. And so you may find, a lot of people are going to find that they're a bit devastated actually with the way that they've ended the year. And we want to just say to you, it actually doesn't matter how you've ended the year, because this is not all that there is. This is only now. And what's now is not forever. What's now is simply because we're all landed smack bang in a revolution of change. There's a massive amount of change still going on the planet. We are literally rewiring our systems, not just the external systems and the governance systems, but we are also rewiring our own family units and the way that we're interacting with them. We're also rewiring our own internal landscapes and the way that we view ourselves and how we interface with the external world. And so it doesn't matter if you're on Facebook and YouTube and all of that stuff, or if you're just, anti all of that stuff. It really doesn't matter. The energetics are still going to impact you. You're still going to experience across the next moon cycle a certain amount of sense awareness that you need to work a bit harder at what it is that you're doing, but you'll think way more than you need to about what it is that you do, because at the moment there's only so much that's going to ground and grow. And it's not you personally, it's the collective field. And it's important for us to remember that as I voice myself, there's power in that. You have responsibility to take yourself seriously in everything that you're doing, to be listening to yourself and to be in that dialogue, absolutely. But there's also an external reality beyond yours that is impacting you on some level. And how it impacts you will always be personal to you. And how much you allow that energy in is always going to be personal to you. Your responsibility is simply to show up to that which is here, to continue to listen to your heart and to understand your mind and to be in awareness of the gift of your own spirit, because that's where balance lies for you. Understanding that you're more than just an idea. You're a physical vessel, a body. You're also a memory source. You're also an access point to memory beyond your own experiencing. And you're also a gift to the earth in order to be a part of this magic and this wonderment that is there. It's just that sometimes we may not be able to see it because of our own personal experiencing in that moment. And so with that, I will wrap this up. I also just want to say that for those of you who are aware of the Mercury retrograde, it ends around the 29th, 30th of this month, September. So there is a process that's still helping us to learn better communication skills, and often that comes off the back of misunderstanding. And Mercury retrogrades are great at interacting with communication in a way that, gives misleading information. And the misleading information, it's not about making things bad, worse, or otherwise. It's actually just about awareness. It's just about helping you understand the diversity of life, and that there's often a lot more going on underneath the surface of things than you may be able to see initially. If you want to learn a lot more about how to peer behind the hidden, how to learn to discern more information beyond the obvious, of course, I teach psychic development, which helps you with that, to understand how you're wired, to understand how you can voice yourself more powerfully. I also have the Sacred Sister Soul Circles, which I run quarterly. And the next one will be in December for the solstice. We've just had the equinox, which was really beautiful. We had a really beautiful session with the women. So I also have some healing circles coming up soon, and they will be delivered soon. So please check out my website if you'd like to know more about the work that I offer, or feel free to book a session via my website, which is www.dana-spirit-butterfly. That's DANA spiritbutterfly.com.au. Sorry, actually it's just .com. Too many websites. I don't have that many, but anyway, I just have some of them are .com and some of them are .com.au. All right, so it's .com. All right, so kisses. For those of you who I haven't seen for a while, I hope that this is helpful for you, and check in if you need a little bit of support. You know that I offer healing services which just can help to clear your energy up so that you can see a little bit more clearly, maybe feel a little bit more grounded in your body, and help you with some attachment disturbances. Otherwise, please learn about your own gifts of magic and healing. I welcome you. Okay. Till next time, see you, friends.